Hello, 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 hello. Is anyone still out there, out there, out there, out there? Hi, guys. Hi, Bleakers. Sorry, I forgot the nickname. Wow. It's been a long, long time. Life has really been, life has really been giving it to me. Let me just say that. You know, um, I think somewhere along the line, I just kind of lost the spark for, you know, frequently making content. Like, I remember the time around when I started was sort of towards the end of COVID, so everyone was still in that kind of despair, and I just had so much fuel going on, and like I could just crank out video after video after video. But at some point, it just became, I don't know, it didn't become boring, but like fighting YouTube is just not. It's not in anyone's best interests. Like, I literally got a community strike. Like, from one of my old videos. And the worst part is they didn't even let me hear what it was that got the strike. They just gave me a community strike. And, like, if I get two more, my channel's deleted. I was like, what the hell? What the hell? Like, if it was that bad, why did you leave it on for like freaking 2 years? It was such an old video. It's like, it didn't even make sense. And like now, my channel's so small, but it's probably worse if it was bigger, because it's like now you're destroying a channel. You won't even let me find out why. I know I've said a lot of like, I don't know, hot takes, but I'm pretty sure even in that video, oh, if you can believe this, it was hate speech. Hate speech. Do you know Bleak to be a purveyor of hate speech? Do you? Really? Really? I mean, this one might get struck down too. I don't know. Like, literally, it's like playing Russian roulette. So, I don't know. I just decided after a long while, to just check in, see how you guys are doing. The Pope's death really, really came as a surprise, because, he did his Easter service and then the next day he just drops. But then again, like, people have been making videos for months, like, yeah, the Pope's not going to live long, this guy's the new Pope, that guy's the new Pope, whatever, whatever, whatever. So I thought I'd make some content about that, in the sense that who cares? Like, the guy himself was somewhat decent as far as popes go, but that entire institution rallies against everything I talk about, other content creators have talked about. It is the antithesis of everything we're here to discuss. Right? It's been that way for 2,000 years. Can you imagine that? 2,000 years. An institution is just there to lord over souls. And, I'm talking through like pain right now, because I got, if you know anything about Bleak, I'm going to talk about dental issues. I just got another tooth removed. So I'm kind of in a bit of pain. It was a regular extraction. It didn't take much. It didn't take too long, right? They injected me with the anesthetic, that's the worst part. Literally, when they inject you with anesthetic, that's the worst part. But after that, the guy just jammed metal tools into my mouth. That guy was really taking his time in my mouth. Pause. Like, I had several men in my mouth today. And I guess lately I've gotten back into that mindset, that doomer mindset I had, because I'd like to think that a lot of the people who have listened to me over the years, and it's been years now, literally, just check my channel. It's been years. It's been up for years. I'm shocked. Right? We don't have that many subscribers, but whoever's still here, whoever still listens to this, like, it's probably gonna get like 10 views max. I don't care. If you're listening to this right now, I love you. Thank you. Thank you so much for, taking your time out of the wide ass internet to watch this one video of some random doomer, right? Some random doomer in Africa with like no lights and no water, right? But we have, pretty good dental care. Yeah. So, God damn. And, I'm the kind of person who, like, if you've listened to my videos, I don't talk about racial politics a lot or things like that, but I do talk about politics to some degree. But, like, it seems like life has just become more and more atomized because now AI has completely taken over. Okay, let's get this right. AI has taken over. It has. Okay, it's been up for the past few years, but already people have, found ways to make money the same way they had that whole Shopify thing, the same way they had that whole online guru marketing thing. People have already marketed their hell, saturated the market, right? And that's another thing. Life is getting more atomized, and still, the older you grow, the more and more you still need to earn a bloody living. Till you're dead. We're here to earn a living, then we're dead. You live to earn a living, then you die, right? That's what we're here for. And now AI is taking over your job, it's taking over my job, it's taking over whatever jobs you had to keep you steady or whatever, they're just gradually being replaced. They're not telling these things out loud. They won't announce it. Okay? They don't want to scare the public, but it's happening, right? It's happening. And, to veer back to the Pope's death, right? I've seen a lot of people use AI to support their religious arguments. And, especially a lot of, God, I don't even want to say it, right? Because it's probably the reason I got hate speech before. I'm not even going to say it. But, like, let's say the Abrahamic religions, right? Like, if you know where I'm going, just connect the dots, right? Like the popular Abrahamic religions using AI to support their arguments, which is ironic, right? These religions live in antithesis of human progress, but they're now being used to progress the arguments of why we should, believe in a happily ever after, right? Do you think the Pope has a happily ever after? I don't know. Nobody actually knows. That's the crazy thing, right? It's just the power of numbers makes you believe that this guy, was really something. But the institution he stood for has covered up. Like, I looked it up, and there were laws against fiddling kids in the Vatican, right? They started, quote unquote, really pursuing the problem since like the 11th century, like the 1000s, right? Like the year 1000 and so around there, like some of the oldest reports since the year 1000. It's now 2025. That means like for over 1,000 years, this has been part and parcel of the Vatican, right? This institution is the, how do I call it? It's the leader of billions of souls, right? It's the gatekeeper. Yeah, that's the word. It's the gatekeeper of billions of souls throughout history. This institution. This institution. Think about that. And you know, if you look at even Orthodox Christianity or the other variants of Christianity, the same thing happens over and over and over again. Over and over and over and over again. Like, really? Really? You know? Doesn't that catch you off as like something weird? The same thing happens over and over and over again. Over and over again. They start in a new country, it happens. They start in this country, it happens. They start in this country, it happens. Oh my goodness. And you know, for people like, I don't know. Okay, if you're listening to this and you're religious, I don't hate you. Like I said, I love you. Okay, thank you for listening to this. Whoever you are, and you actively listen to me, thank you. Right? I'm saying this as a criticism of the institutions. I understand why religion is there. I understand what it does for people. Right? I myself, and if you listen to my videos, you know, I delve into it a lot. I think I've talked about my religious beliefs. I'm not sure. But, you know, certain questions need to be answered. And it's funny because I've seen several content creators make content about antinatalism and child free and like all these forums on Reddit and wherever. Of course, if you go to Reddit and freaking Quora and all these forums, you're going to see the lowest of the low of humanity. They're going to say whatever. That's the internet. It's the wild, wild west. And they keep painting antinatalists as, you know, these people who just despise humanity. They despise kids, whatever the case is. You know, they want to harm, like they want to do harm. I don't know. Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Think about it. It's an ideology that is based upon not bringing humans into this world to suffer. Okay? It's an ideology that doesn't want more people in this hellhole, right? But here we are, you know, like you have religious people and, you know, the tying between religious people and having more kids, especially in Western countries. Like if you're listening to me and you're in a Western country, this is not new to you. This is not new to you at all. You've heard of the declining birth rates. That's a bloody good thing as far as we're concerned. Maybe it's not a good thing for society, but it means less people are being born into this, and these declining birth rates are happening in the best countries to live in, right? They're happening in the best countries to live in, and yet nothing is stopping it. Nothing is going to stop it, right? You have people on the more radical side, you know, saying this is a threat to civilization, it's this, it's that, and that's somewhat true. But again, and I may make a video on this again, I don't know when I'm going to make another video, but what stake do you actually have in civilization? Maybe I have a recency bias, or we live in like, you know, what's most recent to me is what I most abide by. But screw that. I'm going to say whatever I'm going to say. We have the conveniences, right? I'm talking to you after getting a tooth pulled, which I should really let heal, but I don't care. I was feeling extra doomerish today, so I decided, why not? What stake do you have in civilization? You yourself, you the listener, you right now listening. What stake do you have in civilization? What actual stake do you have? What is it that if civilization disappeared tomorrow, what would you do different? I mean, we would do a lot of things different, but like, really, you're still an organism that shits, breathes, cries, bleeds, and you still need to eat. You still need resources. You're still going to need resources. You're still going to need resources, whether or not civilization is there or not, whether or not religion is there or not, whether or not the Pope is there or not. You're still going to need these resources. You're still going to need to live to die. You're still going to need to live to die, and it doesn't have any net benefit. How many people, right? If you're saying it's because of my legacy or my ancestors or whatever, how many of your ancestors do you actually know or have actually known? Let's say your grandparents, maybe your great grandparents. Past that, you probably don't know anyone, right? The ancestors you have most recent to you are the ones who were born literally most recent. But other than that, they were just doing what their ancestors did and what their ancestors did and what their ancestors did. We have reached the climax of where we can question why we do these things, why these people did these things, why, and that's the thing that's hopefully going to free a lot of people in the future. Why we do these things, why these things are done, why they had to do these things, why, these conversations need to be had. There's some that have been politicized to death. There's a lot of, this race needs to pay for this, or this race hasn't done this race hasn't done that. Bloody hell, who cares, bro? You're still going to need resources. You're still going to need to trudge on and find, I don't know, purpose, I guess, right? And if you've listened this far, I want to know, what purpose keeps you going? Because to me, a lot of us are just here, holding on till we get to that, endless void of not existing again. And that's the thing. Billions of people have existed before, and not one of us know who they were, what they did, where they went, the experiences they had. They just died and disappeared forever. Forever. Right? What kind of freak would willingly give that to another living organism? Like, knowing you're a parent, knowing you're going to have to die, knowing that your kid's going to have to bury you, knowing that you're not going to, then you're not going to be around forever. You're not going to be able to shield that child. Why would you put them through disappearing? Why would you put them through the grand disappearing act that is the human species? Like, I would say the human species developed out of several flukes, right? And the flukes have kept us going. And we reached peaks. To me, I think we reached peak society, and like every political side will probably agree, we reached peak society around the 1950s and 60s, right? 1950s and 60s. Because still people were pretty racist, right? And sexist and all that. But there was also, the whole revolution, the cultural revolutions, people embracing peace and love, man. Just there's a whole pile of white stuff over there. Just dive right in, bro. It'll really open your mind and all that. And it was easier to live back then. It was literally easy. It was for your dollar, you could live so much better than now. We're being told to work harder for less money and less money and less money and less money, more education and less money and less money and less money and less money. If you lived during the 60s and you had a basic job, you could literally support a family of your wife, 3 kids, a freaking dog, a white picket fence, own the house, own the car, probably buy another piece of land or something, put your kids through college with basic jobs. And now we're being gaslit into believing that the minimum wage is only for teenagers, people who are just, starting out, people who are just getting into the job market. It's not for actual people. That's rubbish. That is absolute rubbish. And I'm really censoring myself here. That is rubbish. The minimum wage is there to protect people from being exploited to some degree, right? It's there to make sure people get a minimum amount to be able to live, ideally. It's not the case anymore, right? It's there, right? It's there. It functions. It's sort of like how some countries use, well, every country uses Celsius and the US still decides to use Fahrenheit, right? They're there as a force of habit. But other than that, if you lived in the 1960s, probably up until the 1980s, you could own a home, you could have a stable job, you could, the opportunities were there. The opportunities were there, and they could, I've seen videos of people talking about, I make 100K and where I live, it's not enough, this much is not enough. Some people are just talking through their their poopy place, right? A lot of people are just talking to their poopy place, but for a lot of people, it's the truth, right? You'd think maybe living in a country like Switzerland is like one of the best countries in the world, blah, blah, blah. And that's true, but it's like a Big Mac is like $6 or $7 or something. One Big Mac, like literally just one Big Mac. The cost of living is just so expensive. People just, you're just used to the cost of living where you are, and you're just kept afloat somehow, if that even happens, right? A lot of people fall back into poverty. And, I think we'll reach another climax where a lot of people will just fall right back into poverty. If birth rates are declining in Western countries, that means their economic output is also declining. No amount of popes, no amount of religious revivalism is going to do anything, and it hasn't done anything to help the cost of living, right? Like, I'm not trying to say that working is necessarily a bad thing, okay? I'm not saying that, right? I don't want that to be the takeaway here. But the fact that you have to work, you have to survive, to not go homeless out on the street and go hungry, that you have to, that these things are not just supplied to us. Like, yeah, let's say you work, right? But, there's like a bare minimum that's guaranteed, right? Like an ID card, okay? Every citizen has an ID card, right? Every citizen has a social security number or something. Shouldn't every citizen have like a minimum amount of water given to them, a minimum amount of food given to them, like a bare minimum living enclosure, right? Or maybe I'm asking too much. Maybe I'm just a freaking commie or something. I don't know. But, what's the point? That's what I keep saying. What is your stake in this civilization that doesn't give you anything and doesn't care that you exist? The people that care that you exist are your family and your friends. And they too will disappear the same way. They will also disappear eventually. They will disappear off the face of this planet, right? It's just, for us, we know how to quantify time now. It's still going on, right? Can you believe that COVID was 5 years ago? Can you believe that? Like, just the other day, we were all going nuts in our rooms. Just the other day, masks were being, you could not leave outside. People were just afraid of the zombie virus. Just the other day, right? Millions of people vanished. Like, me personally, I didn't mind COVID, right? The whole atmosphere around COVID, I liked it. I'm freaking antisocial. I liked it. I'm like, stay away from me, man. Stay the hell away. Stay the hell away from me. Stay away from me. Leave me alone, right? But people lost loved ones. People lost jobs. People lost so many things, and they haven't bounced back, or, they've gone back because of something that just popped up and left. It popped up grasped the entire world, and just left. Left trails of destruction. People had these vaccines forced on them, right? And that is the truth. Whether or not you agree with vaccines, whether or not you agree with the efficacy of vaccines, they were forced. They were forced. The other sides of the story weren't being properly represented with all these side effects and the vaccines that got taken down, lawsuits, you name it. It just vanished. Right? And that's just how pointless your existence is. And that's not a bad thing. Right? It's good to have some sort of self-esteem and all these kind of things, but the truth is you're just going to vanish. We're COVID. We are COVID now. Like, if you really think about it, we are COVID. We are COVID. That was the whole learning experience. We are COVID. Right? Some countries adapted to how things were in lockdown, and that's just how things are now. Other places, I don't know. It was just hectic. And even so, now, I don't, come to think of it, I don't really have too much to say about Pope Francis, the guy. He works for the freaking Vatican, right? What do you expect from somebody who's high up in the Vatican? They're going to cover up child diddling, okay? They're going to cover it up. They're going to cover it up, no matter what. It is the same sentiment as when the freaking Queen died, okay? The British monarchy pretty much died with her, and that's the truth. That's the freaking truth, right? I mean, look at that. Freaking Britain owned the world. Britain owned the world. My country was colonized by it. Probably your country was colonized or invaded by it. All of our countries are influenced by it. I'm speaking English right now, right? All, they did the thing, right? And you can look at things from like a neutral standpoint and be like, wow, that's actually amazing. Don't look at the back end of all the savagery and the subjugation and, the brutality of how it happened, right? We've reached, we can just look through things with the rose-colored glasses. And now, where is Britain? Who gives an actual flying bangers and mash about the UK now, Who cares? Who freaking cares? Who cares? Is the same thing going to happen to the US? Probably. If it happened, it literally happened to Britain. Britain created the US. The 13 colonies, Britain created Canada. Britain created Australia, New Zealand. Now, poof. These countries rise and fall, they rise and fall, they rise and fall. And somehow, even then, the Vatican is still there. The Vatican is still there and is still, okay, as far as the European political landscape, doesn't have as much power, but is still there as a strong institution. Like what, 1 billion Catholics? And, the greater Christian world still sort of reveres him to some degree. But there's nothing, unless you just really want to get sentimental about your heritage and all this kind of stuff. Sure, do that. Like, don't let me stop you. That's a good form of self-esteem. It's good to be proud of the things you've inherited and the things you can see that other people did to better your life, right? And that's the thing. Again, we will never know so many people right now doing things to make our lives better, even though it seems minuscule, or have done things to make our lives better. It seems minuscule, but it has been done. It's still being done right now. And we will never know who they are. Never. You will never know who they are. They'll just vanish and be replaced by another group of people. And so on and so on and so on. But if these populations really decline, like, to be honest, I wish this population decline would have freaking happened in Africa and India for flying. Ugh. There's too many. Okay, people are too many. There's too many of you. Stop. Just stop. Just stop. There's enough. There's enough. There's enough. And you don't have enough money. You don't have enough resources. Why? Why are you still having freaking 8 kids, 10 kids? I saw another guy who had 12 wives and like 34 kids or something, and like, was it 50 kids and like another 80 grandkids or something? One man, a Ugandan, one man. Go do you, I guess. But one man created like 50 plus kids. 50 plus kids. One man. He even said he can't support them all. No, you don't say, right? Of course, having a politician say Africa needs to decline its population is going to sound, anything in politics is going to sound iffy. But for the love of God, please, if this population decline could happen in Africa, and especially like freaking India, like India is just surging. This is not hate speech. I am just reporting how the populations have gone out of control. Okay, YouTube, please don't take this down. Please, right? Please. Add in China, why not? There's just, right? We're freaking 8 billion, right? How many people do you know? Literally, how many people do you know right now? How many people do you know? Do you even know the Pope? I don't think so. How many people do you know right now? 8 billion. 8 freaking billion. And in like 100 years, that 8 billion people will be gone. Right? The population will probably be 20 billion. Or who knows, maybe even less. 10, 15 billion. But in 100 years, yeah, let's say it's 20 billion. That 8 billion people will vanish from the planet. We will vanish. All 8 billion of us in 100 years will not be here. We can say that for a fact, right? And still people will be born revering the British crown, revering the Vatican, the Pope. Oh, blah, 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 blah. I don't hate Catholics. I hope like this hasn't come off as like I don't, okay? Do your religious rites, take your communion and all that, but also have in mind that, we're only here for a moment and then we're gone. We don't know what happens after we die. The best case scenario is it's just an empty void. It's just an endless void. Best case scenario. Best case scenario. Because what they've described about heaven, I don't know. Hopefully, maybe it's as good as it sounds or whatever. But other than that, right? We are insignificant. Our offspring are even more insignificant than we are. And now they're just going to have to suffer even more than us. In a world that's so modernized that you can barely even access. Imagine that. A world so modernized you can't even access. But yeah, I guess that was my 2 cents, The anesthesia is wearing off. But if you've listened to this the whole way through, like literally, I love you. I hope you get like freaking $10 million. I hope you give me like 2 million of that 10 million. I hope you get everything you want in this life. If you listen the whole way through, okay, leave a thumbs up. If you listen the whole way through, right? I love you forever. Thank you for listening to me. I don't know how often I'll be able to post. Hopefully it's a lot more frequently. Let's see if I can do something about this channel. Maybe it might take off. I don't know. But, thank you and take care.